Navy SEALs. Imagine running until your body quits, only to realize that was just the warm-up. SEAL training begins with Buddy S, a ritual designed to strip your ego down to the bones. This is where the ocean becomes your instructor. 59-degree Fahrenheit water, waves slamming into your face, and sand grinding into every fold of your skin. They call it the sugar cookie. Sounds harmless. It's not. It's physical humiliation engineered to prepare you for the impossible. Then comes Hell Week. 5 days with almost zero sleep. A marathon of mud, log carries, night swims, and commands barked faster than your body can process. Here, 70% quit, not because of pain, but because their sense of identity collapses. This is where exhaustion becomes religion. After that, you enter dive phase and combat phase, where danger changes shape. Simulated drownings, blind underwater navigation, explosives training, weapons drills, and silent infiltration. In the water, every mistake echoes louder. It's the SEAL's favorite element for separating future operators from unfinished stories. The transformation doesn't end with the body. It happens in the mind, where fear becomes a tool and the ocean stops being the enemy and becomes the only honest ally you have. Green Berets. If the SEALs break the body, the Green Berets break the very idea of human limits. The journey begins at SFOD-D, 3 weeks where nothing is explained. Endless ruck marches carrying about 88 pounds, solo navigation through dense forests, and timed events with no official numbers. The rule is simple. Do more than you think you can, then do it again. Here, brute strength saves no one. They're watching something else. Calm under pressure, improvisation, silent leadership. Candidates learn a painful truth. Failure is allowed. Excuses are not. Selection is a merciless mirror. It shows who you really are when no one is watching. Then comes the heart of it all, the Q course. Advanced shooting, guerrilla warfare, joint operations, foreign languages, and armed diplomacy. But nothing compares to Robin Sage, a massive military simulation where students must liberate a fictional country using strategy, negotiation, and controlled violence. It's the ultimate proof that Green Berets don't win with muscle. They win with intellect. The final lesson is brutal and simple. A special operator isn't the one who shoots the best, but the one who understands chaos better than anyone else. Delta Force. In a Delta, the first test is simple. No one tells you you're being tested. The process starts with quiet invitations sent to already seasoned operators, Rangers, Green Berets, Marines, but getting invited means nothing. Getting in is something else entirely. The selection, modeled after the British SAS, is a silent physical pilgrimage. Lonely ruck marches through the mountains, compass in hand, an insanely heavy pack on your back, and zero feedback. You only know one thing. The clock is killing you, and you never know if you're ahead or already done. The most feared stage is the long walk. Dozens of miles across brutal terrain. No yelling, no instructors shadowing you, no encouragement. Just wind, exhaustion, and the constant thought that any hill, any turn could be the end of your dream. Out here, it's not about who moves fastest. It's about who refuses to break. Then comes the invisible side. Psychological interviews, hostage rescue simulations, decision-making under engineered panic. Delta doesn't want super athletes. It wants people who stay ice cold when every other human would freeze. They're searching for absolute self-control. Being selected doesn't mean you're the best. It means you're someone who can walk through silence, weight, and fear without leaving a single trace behind. Marine Raiders. Selection begins with assessment and selection, a phase built to rip the candidate out of any comfort and drop him into long ruck marches, amphibious obstacles, survival lanes, and psychological evaluations that don't forgive hesitation. MARSOC watches everything: posture, silence, decision-making, humility. The idea is simple. You don't represent the Raiders. The Raiders have to be able to trust you. Training then evolves into the ITC, the Individual Training Course, one of the most complete pipelines in the world. Here, students learn maritime infiltration, advanced shooting on the move, demolition, dense jungle patrolling, and urban combat layouts that change daily. It's a course designed to drain the body while overloading the mind, simulating the exact chaos special operations teams face in the field. The defining moment is Team Phase, where every scenario involves live role players, hostage rescue situations, and decisions that must be fast, clean, and ethical. Raiders don't want operators who are just strong, they want operators who are responsible, disciplined, and capable of delivering surgical precision in a world full of consequences. In the end, it's not the uniform that marks you as elite, it's the silence of those who've watched you work. British SAS. If there's any group that turns suffering into a science, it's the SAS. Selection starts with test week, deep in the Brecon beacons. Long ruck marches, compass in hand, weight crushing your back, and absolute silence. Here, every candidate learns something no manual can teach. You're not competing against anyone else, you're competing against your own quitting point. The legendary stage is the fan dance, climbing up and down Pinwai Fan with over 55 pounds on your back. Unpredictable weather, brutal inclines, wind that cuts like a blade. No shouting instructors, no motivation, just the sound of your own breathing and the constant doubt hunting you with every step. But mountains don't define the SAS. What comes next does. The survival and evasion phase turns the candidate into a ghost in the wilderness. They learn to move without leaving tracks, purify water, build improvised shelters, identify escape routes, cross rivers without being seen, and live off roots, insects, and whatever small game they can catch. They sleep little and eat even less. The rule is brutal and simple. The whole world is hunting you and you must disappear inside it. When they're inevitably captured, the final torment begins. Interrogation resistance. This is where realistic captivity simulations take over. Stress positions, sleep deprivation, psychological pressure, repeated questioning, disorienting noise, and chaos. Everything is calibrated to push the candidate to the edge without crossing legal boundaries. The goal isn't to find who's the toughest, it's to find who maintains mental discipline when every emotional defense has collapsed. British SBS. If the SAS owns the ground, the SBS owns the water. Selection begins the same way it does for the SS, but the real filter only appears when the ocean joins the fight. A candidate has to prove he can think, navigate, and operate in an environment where the human body loses heat 10 times faster. Night swims, submerged infiltrations, long periods in freezing water, and coastal navigation under pressure set the tone from the start. The maritime counter-terrorism phase puts candidates on fast boats, oil platforms, and massive ships. Every exercise demands near telepathic coordination, climbing moving ropes, breaching tight compartments, and neutralizing threats in corridors where a single echo can give away your entire team. Out here, the ocean punishes hesitation, cold water drains strength, tides shift your route, and the wind destroys any plan the moment you rely on it. Then comes the true dividing line, dive training. Closed-circuit infiltrations, underwater navigation with zero visibility, submerged demolitions, silent recoveries, all while managing depth, buoyancy, and oxygen with absolute precision. One miscalculation, even by an inch or a breath, and the sea collects its payment without warning. GIGN. If the world knows the GIGN for perfect marksmanship, what almost no one sees is the psychological price behind that precision. The journey starts with brutal physical testing, running, strength, endurance, shooting under fatigue, and climbing. But none of that is the heart of the GIGN. The real filter is mental. Rapid decision-making, calm under pressure, emotional control, and the ability to negotiate while the room feels like it's collapsing. Strength is required, but stability is mandatory. Then comes the hostage rescue phase, the moment everything changes. Every scenario is full-scale, chaotic, and unpredictable. Buildings, planes, buses, train cars, all recreated life-size. The candidate must calculate angles, identify hostages, synchronize movements, and act within seconds. In the GIGN, every bullet is a signature, and every second decides who lives and who dies. But the true abyss is the psychological conditioning. Simulated collapses, mass panic, moral pressure, sensory overload. The trainee is pushed into controlled crises to learn how to command his own body. He must regulate his heartbeat, steady his breathing, anchor his mind, and keep his voice calm, even when everything around him is falling apart. It's neuroscience turned into combat doctrine. In the GIGN, victory doesn't come from strength. It comes from the mind that stays still, while the rest of the world explodes around it. GSG-9. If the GIGN is emotional precision, the GSG-9 is mechanical precision. Everything works like a German clock built for moments where a single mistake can cost dozens of lives. Selection demands absolute discipline. Candidates endure punishing physical tests, but the real filter is technical control, advanced shooting while moving, tactical climbing, close-quarters combat, and split-second decision-making. Every movement is drilled until it becomes reflex, because in the GSG-9, reflexes save more lives than muscle ever will. The core of their training is close-quarters assault and controlled entry, breaching reinforced doors, clearing narrow hallways, rescuing hostages in claustrophobic spaces, all of it timed with almost no margin for error. They rehearse assault plans dozens of times, correcting micro-gestures, the angle of the foot, the rhythm of the breath, the timing of the shot. The philosophy is simple. A GSG-9 operator doesn't react to danger. He anticipates it. Their surgical marksmanship phase is one of the strictest in Europe. Candidates must hit tiny targets, often positioned inches from simulated hostages with microscopic safety margins. They train under strobe lights, smoke, loud noise, nighttime scenarios, and unstable environments. The GSG-9 expects the operator to think like an engineer and act like a scalpel. Shayetet 13. If there's a training pipeline that seems to test not just the body but the soul itself, it's Shayetet 13. It begins with the YAM phase, where water becomes both the adversary and the instructor. Long open water swims, buddy tows, extended underwater drills, and cold water resistance push candidates past the point where strength ends and willpower begins. The rule is simple. Whoever enters the water must come out stronger, physically and mentally. Many don't. Then comes the infamous interrogation week, a phase so extreme that only a handful of units on Earth dare to replicate it. Candidates are pushed through psychological stress, sleep deprivation, repetitive questioning, emotional manipulation, sensory disorientation, and scenarios that simulate real capture. It's not torture, it's engineered stress designed to measure resilience. They want to see who can maintain logical coherence while the brain is begging to shut down. Operational training is just as unforgiving. Shipboard combat, underwater infiltration, advanced shooting on the move, demolition, CQB, and night navigation all fuse into a curriculum built around calculated chaos. Every drill forces the operator to find clarity inside disorder. Shayetet 13 doesn't just train commandos, it trains crisis solvers for places no human should ever have to operate. BOPE. If most special forces train for war, BOPE trains for an enemy watching every corner of the favela. It all begins with KOSP, the Special Operations Course, one of the most brutal urban warfare trainings on the planet. Endless runs up Rio's brutal hills, shooting circuits under punishing heat, climbing through stacked neighborhoods, psychological endurance tests, and non-stop exhaustion. There's no glamour here, only survival. The community immersion phase is what separates BOPE from any unit on Earth. Candidates must understand a living terrain, alleys, narrow passages, steep access points, improvised routes, and the constantly shifting logic of real urban combat. The environment speaks, and those who don't listen don't return. Terrain reading becomes as natural as language. Then comes the phase every candidate fears, Death Week. Hours without sleep, minimal food, simulated ambushes, urban raids, room combat inside tight, uneven houses, progression through pitch-black alleys, casualty extraction under simulated fire. Every drill pushes stress to the edge because BOPE doesn't build athletes. It builds operators who can think when the body is begging to shut down. The technical apex is BOPE's high-complexity CQB. A combat style engineered specifically for Rio's vertical chaotic terrain. Multi-level structures stacked on top of each other. Simultaneous entries from rooftops, stairwells, and front doors. Cramped hallways demanding instant decisions. Precise communication in environments where echo and noise distort everything. They train until movement becomes instinct, fast, silent, and mathematical. In BOPE, it's not enough to be strong or accurate. You must be calm in the impossible, cold in the unpredictable, and steady in a terrain where every step could be your last. Subscribe to the channel and leave a like. See you next time.